Hello scrappers. Well, I've got some more equipment to tear down and scrap out here on the autopsy table. Today I have 11 IBM 26K6482 4-port Ethernet network switch modules. It's a bit of a mouthful. So I've got 11 of these things. There's the pile over there. So, interesting. They're small. They're not very big. Here's my hand for comparison. But I've got 11 of them, so hopefully there's some good stuff in each one times 11. That would be great. Now, I can probably hear people out there screaming even before they get to their keyboards to write the comment to me that, no, these are worth money. You should be reselling them. Don't scrap them out. And yes, you're right. I have looked these up. And I have seen them selling for everywhere from $35 up to $200 online. And that's a fair amount of money for this big pile of switches if I was to resell them. Problem: I don't know if they're any good. I don't know if any of them is any good. Most of the stuff I get is scrap. It's bad. I could try selling them as is, with no guarantee, but people still get upset and leave bad feedback when you do that, when they get stuff that's broken. So I have no way of testing them. I can't plug them in. They go into some sort of rack or server module or something. They have no, I can't just plug them in and see if they even power up. So I really have no way of testing them. And I really just have an issue with knowingly selling stuff that I know or strongly suspect is bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrap these out. I mean, I got them for nothing, so you know it's not costing me anything to scrap them out. So be gentle to me in the comments section, especially you IT guys who love this equipment, you know. But as far as I can tell, this stuff is scrap. Okay, so we'll give a quick look around. Not much to see. We got 4 Ethernet ports on the front of the unit. Looks like maybe, I don't know, hot swappable? Possibly. I don't know. You IT guys, you can tell me if these were hot swappable units. And on the back we got lots of gold pins. We got some data pins here. Looks like reasonably chunky gold pins in there. I hope they're showing up for the power connections. Alright, I don't know what kind of voltage this thing takes. Right, hook it up to my power supply and see if it powers up at least, but I got no idea. I probably just let the magic smoke out. So okay, let me get some tools. Hopefully this is a pretty easy tear down, and I won't make you watch me tear down all 11 of them. We'll just do one, and then I'll get back to you once I have the other 10 done. But let me find my tripod, get the camera on it, find some tools, and we'll get started. Alright, let's get this teardown started. I've got some chores I need to do around the farm later today. I'm going to try really hard to stay in frame. This is pretty small and I'm zoomed in on it. So I'll try not to drift out of frame too bad while I'm working on it here. Looks like there's 4 screws here holding it together. And there's a few screws on the side, which I'll probably have to take out at some point. I guess I'll start with these screws here first. You know what's strange? For equipment made by IBM, I don't see any IBM branding on it anywhere. That is very odd. They're usually not shy about putting their name on their stuff. So, I don't know. Weird. Okay, what's going on here? Okay. Are these screws actually going to come out, or looks like they back off a little bit and then... Okay, maybe I do need to take these screws on the sides out. Because these screws I just took out on the top or the bottom or whatever that is don't seem to be amounting to much. Maybe they're holding something in place inside. See here. Ah, okay, yeah, they were holding a board down. Okay. So those screws on the on the sides were the ones I needed to take out to get in. Well, you learn on the first one, then it's easy on the next 10, right? What do we got here? Yeah, a couple of different boards in here. Not a whole lot on either board, but it is a small piece of equipment. Let's see, we got on this board, well, we got some gold pin connectors over here, some sort of header. We got some connectors here that connected through to this board here, so I can see gold in these and I see gold in these, so that's good. So you got a fair amount of gold there. Got well, single-sided board except for a few little tiny grain of sand MLCCs. But it looks like maybe we got a couple RAM chips, an Intel chip of some kind, a Xilinx chip, and a big Toshiba chip, and a few little tiny little IC chips. Got a gold band oscillator. That's nice. Love the gold band oscillators. There's a lot of gold in them. Another gold band oscillator on this board. In fact, there's three of them that I see. That's nice. Okay. Alright, so anything else interesting on this board? Looks like a reset button, probably. And got some more gold headers over here. And I guess this is just like an insulating cushion or something. Okay. Alright, I'm going to set this board aside. See how I can get this board out. It looks like it's held in with standoffs. Let me see if I can get these standoffs out. Oh, those are tight. Nice brass standoffs anyway. I think I decided a while back to stop collecting standoffs though, because I've got a ton of them already. You know, they are useful. I'm definitely accumulating them faster than I'm using them. But these standoffs are going to be hard to get out of there. I can't get my big fingers in there to twist them. I suppose I could go find a hex end screwdriver to take them out, but there we go. Maybe I'll do that before I tackle the other 10. Just to make life a little easier. Like I said, you learn on the first one. Okay. Alright. Well, nothing else of note in the case. Okay, another single-sided board, except for some MLCCs. Another one of these insulating strips. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of gold plating on this board, though. Yeah, this board doesn't seem to have any. But there's a lot of gold plating on this board. Oh, and these pins are pressed in. That's nice. So they should come out relatively easy. Yeah, gold plating on this side, too. I can tell it's thin, though. Not going to get rich off that. But it's a bonus. Alright, speaking of bonuses, I'm looking at what's underneath these heat sinks, and it looks like these two are big gold corner BGAs. I love gold corner BGAs. Gotten good at processing them and recovering the gold they contain, and they are about 1.1% gold by weight. Oh, boy, they glued these heat sinks on really well. Aha! Alright, yeah, that's a Broadcom BGA. Oh, I love Broadcom stuff. They don't spare the gold. Ah, yes, another Broadcom BGA. Good. So, those are big ones, too. So, I got, what, 11 of these things? That's 22 big Broadcom BGAs. Assuming they're all built the same way. That's a nice payday there. And there's a small Broadcom BGA. Nice. Okay. Beautiful. Got some, like I said, there's 3 gold band oscillators on here. I'm not sure. the heck are those things? Ah, there's a bunch of little tiny square BGA chips on here. So they'll all probably have some gold in them. Looks like huge. Are those? I'll have to look the number on those, but those look like really huge tantalum capacitors. And of course we got the 4 RJ45 ports over here, each with 8 pins in it that are all gold plated. Okay, so we got gold plating here, gold plating on the board, gold plating here, and then there's going to be gold over here. Let me see if I can get these. Let's see. It's got a few screws in it. I suppose I should take the screws out first. That might make it easier to get this apart. Like the pins on the end of the board here are pressed in, but I see screws probably reinforcing them. Take those screws out, and this whole assembly might, if I'm lucky, come out. Yep, there it is. So how does this come apart? I'll have to work on that. Of course, I'm not wearing gloves, and there's lots of sharp edges here, so there's the potential. There could be blood spurting in a minute. Let me leave this for a second. Well, actually, you know what? Yeah, okay. So there's some of the, holy moly. Am I seeing that right? Yeah, that's one of the big gold-plated power pins, and it's plated all the way back here. I hope that's showing up. Try to focus a little closer. Yeah, normally just the end of these pins are plated, but that's plated almost all the way back. That's a bonus. That's a lot of plating. So let's see. Here's another one. So we got 4 of these pins per unit times 11 units. That's 44 of these heavily plated pins. Nice. So there's 2 of them. The other 2 are still in here. So I'll have to work on getting those out. And then there's all these little pins here, these data pins. I wonder if I'm as lucky with them, if they're plated quite so nicely. These are pretty standard. Pretty much the same thing as I see in like Cisco and Terrasys equipment. So they're not quite as much plating there. But there is some. Okay. Well, that's good. So, you know, it's times 11. That's still a fair amount of gold plating. So, the next step, well, after I do the other 10, the next step would be to depopulate these boards. Get all of the components off the boards. Now, I do that in a kiln. If you watched my previous videos, I just put the boards in a kiln, slowly ramp the temperature up until it's above the melting point of solder, give the boards a shake, a few rattles, and everything just falls right off the boards. I ramp the temperature up slowly just so I'm not pumping too much heat into the boards too quickly so that nothing chars or melts. Doesn't always work that well, so I need to look and see if there's anything on these boards that needs to come off before they go in the kiln because it might melt. The only thing I see here that really worries me is this connector right here. This has the look of something that might melt and entomb some of the gold pins inside it. Problem is it's through hole, so I'd have to take a heat gun or a torch or something to it to get it off before it went in the kiln. A lot of times if something is just surface mounted, I can just rip it right off with pliers or something, but through hole's a little more complicated. Sorry for the noise. I live in the middle of a tree farm and the sprinklers are on right now. So you're going to hear that quite a bit. So that's really the only part I'm a little worried might melt, but I don't think I'm worried enough to do anything about it. I think I'm going to leave it there and just hope that it doesn't melt. Everything else here, let's see, these are surface mount, these are surface mount. They should fall right off as soon as the kiln gets up to temperature and fall into the catch basin at the bottom where it's cooler, so they shouldn't melt. You know, the through-hole stuff I'm a little more worried about because it'll hang on there even after the solder gets hot enough to melt. All these other components here, looks like pretty much everything on this board is surface mount, so it should fall right off. Most of the stuff on this board surface mount should fall right off. See, I already took all these pins off the back, so I don't have to worry about their carrier melting. So I guess these boards are good to go. They're ready to go in the kiln and get depopulated. All I have to do is do this 10 more times and work my way through this pile over here. Alright, like I said, I won't make you watch this. I'll just work on taking them all apart, and then once I have all the boards ready to go in the kiln, I'll do them in a batch. Okay, so I've really only just got started taking these things apart. I'm like on my 4th one, I think. And I thought this was interesting enough to share. This one's a little different on the inside. So it looks like I've got at least 2 different models or iterations of this. This one doesn't have these aluminum heat sinks. It's got silicone pads that touch the top of the top steel case piece to radiate the heat out. So these just peel right off. And something else about this versus the other ones I've taken apart. There's a lot of gold here that's not present on this one. And it's weird. The components are mounted on the other side of the board, basically. You see the interconnects are over here, and the Ethernet ports are over here. But on this one, the big Broadcom BGA chips are on the other side. So a couple different designs here, but this one has more gold plating on it. So I don't know which is newer and which is older. So otherwise, they seem to have pretty much the same components. Actually, no. Yeah, the same components. So just different layout for some reason. So I just thought I'd share that. If I get a 3rd design iteration, I'll show you that one. Okay, I've got all 11 of them taken apart. Got a big pile of scrap steel down there in the end of my workbench. That'll go in the recycling. All the other parts are over here. Let's see, got all the gold pins up here in this basin. I'll have to spend some time taking these carriers apart and liberating the actual pins, but that's probably a 15-20 minute job. Just sitting in front of the computer one day watching YouTube videos and do it and have it done. The disassembly went a lot easier once I found a socket for these standoffs. I mean, I thought I had every single hex driver known to man, but I didn't have one to fit these, but I found a 5mm socket in my small metric socket set that fit them. So that made the life go a lot easier once I found that. So I've got this big pile of brass standoffs now. There's actually a substantial number of them. I'll just put them with my brass scrap and take it to the scrapyard at some day when I get plenty of brass piled up. There's definitely 2 different revisions here. So here's the boards of the 2 different revisions, and you can see the difference here. So this board is CPU system Rev A2. This board is CPU system Rev B1. This board is Rev A2, and this board is Rev 2B1. And what it looks to me like was, this is obviously the earlier revision. They had the big BGA chips on here, and they had them pressed against the steel of the enclosure to take the heat away. And I'm thinking that may not have been good enough heat removal. So what they had to do was they had to take these BGA chips and flip them to the other side of the board and put these aluminum heat sinks on them, so that the airflow going through the enclosure could cool the chips. That's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but I imagine that's why they did it. Also on the second revision, there's less gold plating. Corporate probably told them to, you know, make it a little cheaper. So there's less gold plating on the second revision. So that's kind of interesting. So it's about a 50-50 mix of the two revisions that I've got here, but they've all got basically the same components on them, so that's nice. These things here, these heat transfer pads, just peel right off, whereas the heat sinks were seriously glued on and took some elbow grease to get off. Okay, so they're all done. They're ready to go in the kiln. That's probably a project for another day, because like I said, I've got some chores I need to do around the farm, but I'll edit it all together. There won't be a big gap for you. So when I finally get these in the kiln and get them depopulated, and then I'll get the parts sorted out, and I'll show you everything. And I get questions. Okay, this is a little bit of a personal thing. You can fast forward to it if you don't want to hear it. I get questions in my comments about how do I know all this stuff about this equipment, and was I an electronic engineer? You know, what did I do for a living? Yes, I was an electronic engineer. Long time ago. Early in my career, I got promoted into management, and I kept going up the management ladder, higher and higher into management, and got out of the trenches and away from the actual hardware, which, you know, the pay was good, but all the stress you could handle and more, and not so much fun as actually, you know, working with the hardware. And I'll tell you what, managing people is a lot harder than managing hardware. You can't take a screwdriver and wrench to a broken person and fix them. And there were many times I would have liked to try to do that. So if you really love engineering, really love engineering, and can't imagine doing anything else, don't let them promote you into management. Unless you need the money, okay? Because it's not going to be as much fun. So now that I'm retired, I get to play with hardware again. You know, I go off, I do consulting, I do this scrapping out, I do repair work for people on a contract basis, and that's great. It keeps me busy, keeps me off the streets, and I get to use my rusty engineering skills, which haven't seen much use in the past 20-odd years. Alright, so enough about me. I'm going to get these boards into the kiln when I can, but first I got to go do some chores and then make dinner. So this will probably happen another day. But I just thought I'd fill you in because I do get the questions. Okay, it's about 2 days later, and I got all the stuff through the kiln, depopulated, all the parts sorted out. Over here are the boards to start with. Got two piles. These boards over here don't seem to have any gold plating on them. These other boards here with the two different revisions, they do have gold plating on them. Some more than others. So these will be going through the EcoGold-X Gold Stripper. Speaking of the EcoGold-X Gold Stripper, I've got all this stuff over here that has gold plating on it. I've got the pins. Oh, I haven't really decided how I'm going to handle the pins yet. There's several different ways to do pins. The gold stripper is one way, and dissolving them in AP solution and then hitting them with aqua regia is another way. So I haven't decided which way I'm going to go with these. But this other stuff, which has gold plating deep inside it, like these RJ45 connector ports, these connectors here, these will probably go through the EcoGold-X solution. And I've been getting requests to do another video on the EcoGold-X, and really I need to, because I have scaled up my process to, I have a huge amount of gold-plated stuff like this laying around that I need to process. And I've scaled up my process, but the problem is EcoGold-X has changed the formulation of their stuff and changed the directions for use. So I need to do some small-scale testing and make sure I understand how to use it right before I try to do a large-scale batch of this stuff and screw it up. So I need to do some small-scale testing, so it may be a while before the next EcoGold-X video comes out, but sooner or later it will, because I've got a pile of gold-plated boards I need to process besides just these. I've got a whole bunch of this kind of stuff that needs processed. So sooner or later it will happen. Like I say, I need to do some small-scale testing to make sure I have the new method figured out. Let's see, what else have we got here? Oh, look at this. Whole bunch of gold band oscillators. I love these things. They're tiny, but boy, there's a lot of gold in them. And someday I will do a video on how I process these. I'm collecting a fair number of them again. I did a little R&D on how to process them a while back. So I've got a method that seems to work. So sooner or later I will film that and show you how it works. Now, strangely, there were some other oscillators. These things are kind of tiny. These are little tiny crystal oscillators here in an epoxy package. And these, I think, are either quartz crystals or resonators in a ceramic package. And what's weird is I don't have 11 of each, even though I had 11 boards to start with. So some of the boards must have had some design changes on them. So I don't know, kind of strange. Possible one or two of them are still lost in the bottom of the kiln. I haven't vacuumed it out yet. Let's see, right up front and center here. Oh, this is the good stuff here. These are the gold corner BGAs, all of them. So there were 3 in each one, so there should be 33 there. 22 big ones and 11 of these small ones. These are just loaded with gold, and I'm getting quite a pile of gold corner and other BGA chips accumulated. So sooner or later I'm going to do another video on how I process these, because I'm always tweaking and improving my processes and scaling up. And I have got some a good process now for working with these and getting all of the gold out of them, including the backs, which don't really contain much, but they do contain some. They're harder to process, but I figured out a way to process the whole chip and get all of the gold and the silver out that they contain. So someday I just need to accumulate a few more, so I've got enough to make it worthwhile. And I'll do the process, and I'll film it all and release the video. Got another pile of little tiny BGAs here, very, very small. But don't discount the little tiny BGAs. They've all got a lot of gold in them too. So I will probably process all my BGAs all together. Not much difference in the way I process these versus these now. Used to be there was a big difference between the two, but not anymore. I process them pretty much the same way now. Let's see, we got all the other semiconductors that were on the board. Looks like transistors for the most part. Well, actually that's diodes by the look of it. Okay. So, got these all have a little bit of gold in them. They're piling up. Someday I'll process them. Got a whole bunch of IC chips here. Oh my goodness, this is quite a pile. And it ranges from little tiny little ones up to these great big Toshiba flat packs. And there's quite a few RAM chips in here. There's flash RAM in here. So there's going to be a lot of gold in this pile. I'm really happy about this. Got some LEDs up here. Each board had 2 little LEDs in it. So LEDs, each LED has a little whisker of gold in it. Liking that. Got the gold header pins and the gold connectors up here. Gold pin connectors. They all came off the board pretty nice. So can't complain about that. Got MLCCs. Multi-layer ceramic capacitors here. And they're all magnetic, unfortunately, but I'm used to that these days. It's getting rarer and rarer to find the ones without the non-ferrous ones. So, but this is sort of a representative sample. There's still a lot of them over here in the catch basin I haven't sorted out yet, and that's going to be sort of a tedious, time-consuming process. I will do it eventually, but I just wanted to finish up this video, get the last bit of footage in the can, so to speak, before I had to leave to do some errands today. And then, what else? Well, we got the pile of garbage here. The pile of garbage is pretty darn big. There's a lot of stuff in here. There's a lot of magnetics, coils, looks like resistor networks, electrolytic capacitors, and these square things here, which I initially thought when I looked at the board were black tantalum capacitors. I am pretty sure they are actually some sort of weird radial electrolytic capacitor that has been contorted into being surface mounted on these boards. They really do look more like electrolytic capacitors to me than tantalums. They've all got like a little blowout disc or vent on the top of them, And they're light. They are very light. You know, if you get a good handful of these, they're very light. You can hardly feel it. Tantalum capacitors are really heavy if you got a handful of them. So I think they are electrolytics. So I put them all in the garbage pile. I'm not going to save them. So that's pretty much it. A lot of gold pins. I'm happy about that. Got some more gold pins over here. Happy about that. But I'm really happy about these piles of BGA chips, IC chips, and gold band oscillators. This is where the real gold is, in these 4 piles. And can't wait to process them and recover it. Someday coming down the pike, there'll be other videos, like I said, on the Eco Gold X, processing the gold band oscillators, processing the BGAs, and sooner or later, I need to do a little more R&D and figure it out. Sooner or later, there'll be a video on getting silver and other precious metals out of the MLCCs. So stay tuned for further developments. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you found this video interesting, educational. Killed 45 minutes, whatever. Give it a thumbs up, a like. Subscribe to see future videos and press the little bell icon so you'll be notified when they're released. There's always more videos in the pipeline. They're coming. I've still got more stuff to clean out of my workshop. It's cluttered in there. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Keep it safe out there. Bye.